All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. I hope all of you are staying safe out there. We're definitely excited to talk about reports today, and hopefully you're able to walk away with something you didn't know before. But I'll go ahead and quickly introduce myself. My name is Sarah Ogden, and I'm the Director of Customer Success here at JobNimbus.
My name's Logan. I work in support with the escalations team. So if there's hard questions that can't be answered, I try and answer them.
Just to give you a quick overview of what we're going to cover today, we hope that you walk away with a knowledge of the value that reports can give your business by better understanding the built-in reports, as well as how to build and utilize custom reports. And I just wanted to mention a couple of quick things before we dive into it. We are here to answer any questions you may have about reports, so feel free to put them in the Q&A section or in the chat section, and we'll answer them there or as part of our presentation. Also, we will be putting up a few polls throughout. These are there to help us capture where you are at in your usage of reports and allows us to better cater the information we present.
So as business owners, you have a ton of data, and business in general has a ton of data. And one of the main purposes of JobNimbus is to capture that data. But having the data doesn't do you a lot of good if you don't have a way to see it, to organize it, to make it work for you. Reports are the section of JobNimbus that lets your data do just that, work for you. And we want to give you an idea of how you can use this. Sarah, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. And as we mentioned, there are two types of reports in JobNimbus, built-in and custom. You should automatically see a sales pipeline report, sales lead source report, and team activity report. Most accounts don't, but if you do have jobs enabled, then you will also see a job pipeline report and a job lead source report. So we're going to go ahead and start off with built-in reports, which are essential business reports you should use to propel your business forward. You should see a poll pop up on your screen now, so just go ahead and fill that out. This will help us have an idea of how many of you use the built-in reports already. And then while you're filling that out, I wanted to just cover some frequently asked questions we get about built-in reports. The first is, who can see them? You can control which team members have access to the built-in reports in the account settings. This is granted in the Access Profile section in settings, as shown in the picture here. If you have users that should be able to access the built-in reports, like your sales managers, make sure this box is checked, and unchecked if they're users that shouldn't have access. A common question that we get is, can you edit the information shown in built-in reports? Now, you can customize the date range, and you can edit which statuses trigger the stages that are on the built-in reports. And you can edit whether the info is pulled from the most recent estimate or the most recent invoice, but no other edits can be made. If you're wanting more specific data, custom reports will be what you want to generate. Now, the first built-in report listed in your account should be the sales pipeline report. As I mentioned earlier, if you use jobs, then you will use the jobs pipeline report instead, as jobs are not pulled into the sales pipeline report. By the way, if anyone has any questions about the sales pipeline report or other built-in reports that we cover, as I said earlier, please feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A section, and we'll answer them there or cover them in our presentation. Now, the sales and job pipeline reports are important because they can be used to track your sales reps' close rates, as well as the revenue they expect to close in their pipeline. The reports use the recorded time a contract or job first passes through a status marked with this lead or sold stage. So on the right, you'll see the sold revenue, and on the left is the sold rates. I know the sales team here at JobNimbus, they have a weekly leaderboard, much like this report. So it's a great thing to share if you want to add some healthy competition into your workplace. Then if you want to see a breakdown of the records pulled by this report, you can click the triangle next to your sales reps' names, and so on, as shown in this GIF. It can be helpful to your sales managers to monitor the estimates and invoices that are coming down the pipeline. Then, as I mentioned before, there are three ways you can edit your report. First, you can choose between viewing the most recent estimate and the most recent invoice. Then if you don't use JobNimbus estimates and you have a custom decimal or number field, you can use those fields in your reports instead, and that will show up here on the amount field dropdown. If you don't use JobNimbus estimates, but haven't added a custom decimal or number field, you can add it under contact fields in settings or job fields if you use jobs as shown here. It allows you to customize JobNimbus to your needs. For example, like if you do any work on insurance claims, then you could add a custom field for claim number. Now, after editing what records are pulled into next, you can change the date range for your report. And last, you can choose to only view contacts that are currently in the sold stage by checking the checkbox labeled current stages. If you uncheck this, it will give you a historic view where you can see everything that has passed through the statuses in this report, but it's not something we see customers do very often. It can be confusing and we generally don't recommend it. Let's see, then our most frequently asked question about the sales pipeline report is why the sales pipeline report is not showing all sales, or why is the sales pipeline report not showing all sales? The key thing is that before your contacts will show on your report, you will need to make sure the contact has passed through a status marked with the stage sold. If it has not been in that status, then it will not show on the report.
And Paula, I see you've got a question about nothing showing up in your most recent estimate field. This could very well be the reason why, is that you don't have a sold stage set up on your workflow. Another thing to make sure is that you're using JobNimbus estimates and not putting in estimates from outside the system, because we have no way to track those.
All right. Now, most of you should already have this set up correctly, but in case you don't, you'll want to go into your settings and double check the statuses you have for each stage. Then moving forward, the next built-in report is your lead source report. It shows data of your contracts based on the lead or sold workflow stage, broken down by lead source. The report shows the close rates for each lead source you have, so you can narrow in on what lead source works best for your company. It has very similar functionality as the sales pipeline report. You can change the date range, choose to only view contacts that are currently in the sold stage by checking the checkbox labeled current stages, and expand and collapse records organized by lead source. As an extra note, we do get calls into support asking why jobs are not showing up on the sales lead source report as well. So if you are using jobs for your whole sales process, starting from when they are leads and not contacts, then you need to make sure you use the job lead source report, not the sales lead source report. The last of the built-in reports is the team activity report. This can give you insights to your team's productivity and effectiveness. And I personally know as a department manager, having the data to analyze your top performers is crucial to moving your business forward. Then, like all the other reports, you can change the date range for the data, and you can also exclude any team members with no activity. If you want, you can also add columns for things like automations, emails, and document generation, or you can remove the columns. We recommend you dial this report into the key tasks or activities that show productivity for your team and use that to push your employees to be top performers.
So built-in reports give you a really good overview of your sales process and what your team members are doing. Do we have another question? We don't have JobNimbus yet, and we're hoping to learn more about it. Is this not the right webinar for that? Well, Christina, the good news is when you get JobNimbus, this information is going to be very helpful. The better news is that at the end of this, we will give you an email where you can reach out to our sales team and get a demo that will give you more information about it. So we are excited to have you on board. Thanks for joining us. So custom reports are stored on the right side of that reports tab, and they will cover everything that is not covered in built-in reports. Like if you want to track your invoices, your contacts, get a list of all your jobs going on right now, that's what we're going to use saved reports for. Now, if you want to make one, which I assume you do, you're going to click on those three dots, and it's going to give you a list of all of the different things that you can build in custom reports. Now, it's quite a list. And the things that you see above the line here are reports that everybody's going to automatically see. Now, if you use jobs, work orders, material orders, anything below the line, then you'll see these when you've enabled the feature. So just for my curiosity, how many of you are already using custom reports and how many are you using? Go ahead and take a look at that.
As I mentioned with built-in reports, I use approximately like 3 to 15 different reports every day to look at the data for my team. Oh man, we had someone say, Eddie, you said you have over 50, which is super awesome. That's amazing. I hope that you're able to keep track of all of that. That's incredible.
Yeah, you probably saw on our last slide that our demo account uses, probably 20. 50 is a lot. But if you've got that many different ways to track your data, you're in a really good place. So it looks like a lot of you aren't using them at all. Hopefully we can give you some reasons here to start using custom reports in your business. I think this is going to be very useful for you. So once you've gone in and made a report, the first thing you're going to want to do is give it a name and mark the accessibility down. Now, name and description will both show up on the right-hand side of the Reports tab, as we saw earlier. The available to is important. It defaults to just me. So if you want this to be available to more people in your organization, you're going to want to change that. If you do change it to something like specific groups or all team members, then limited access users will not be able to edit the report, so you don't have to worry about your sales guys messing up your very beautiful reports. There's 4 different controls that you have inside a custom report to make it your own. The first is pretty self-explanatory. It's adding a column. Each individual report will have its own list, as well as any custom fields that you're using that will relate to that report. It's listed alphabetically, so it's easy to see. The next control is sort of the reverse of adding a column. It's removing a column. I don't know what else you want me to tell you. Any column that's there, you can take it off. There are a number of defaults that populate on any report. Remove what you don't need. Simplify, simplify, simplify. All of that good stuff. The heart of building reports that matter is going to be adding filters. We have 5 different kinds of filters that will cover all of the different possible columns that you can edit. The first one is text, which is pretty simple. You'll get an image like on the right-hand side, and you'll start typing in things that you want to search for. Now, this is case sensitive. So if you're searching for a city like Provo, a little city in Utah, then make sure you're capitalizing that. And make sure you're choosing your and or correctly. For example, if I was searching for city and I put in Provo and Sandy, I would want to choose an or because it's highly unlikely that I have a customer that is in both Provo and Sandy. In fact, it's going to return no results. So make sure you're using that and or correctly. Boolean filters are also very simple. Boolean is computer speak for true or false, yes or no, or it might just be the checkboxes that you see. So if you want to see something sold, is something archived, or is something a yes or no that you've added as a custom field, you'll use a Boolean filter. There is an exclude option. All that will do is reverse what you've done. So just choose true or false. You don't need the Boolean, the exclude here. Greater than filters deal with numbers, and this is one that you'll use a lot. The most common use is going to be choosing greater than 0, which will give you everything that's, well, greater than 0. This is especially important if you're working with monetary things like, hey, I want to find out how much money I'm doing. I'm going to search for everything that owes me more than 0. Is there a way to, we got a question. Is there a way to create reports that pull information from various places, like from the budget, estimates, etc.? So each report, like estimates, can pull certain related data, and you'll see those in related columns. But there's not a way to combine 2 reports together like that. If I was doing that, I would probably be looking to pull reports that have a similar column. For example, I want a report for John Smith that is budgets and a report that is estimates and also includes John Smith. And then I'd export those into Excel or a CSV file, and I'd combine those together. It's not elegant. And it's something we're looking at maybe changing in the future, But right now you've got a few related fields, and if you can get your fields to line up exactly, you can export them and combine them in another program.
Yeah, and then if you have any suggestions about things that are missing from the reports, or if you're looking for them to be better organized, our development team is always looking to improve our product. So you can contact support@jobnimbus.com with those suggestions, and we'll be able to log those for you and get them to development.
Absolutely. And we're always looking to improve, so we appreciate any feedback. Another useful thing you can do here is actually use that exclude button. I told you not to use it earlier, but here we can use it to reverse that between. So if I chose between 500 and 1,000, I'd get everything that, well, it's between 500 and 1,000. But sometimes I want to see the outliers, the things that are not in there. Then I could choose between, and I'd exclude that, and I'd get everything that is higher or lower. Kind of neat, a little bit corner case, still good to know about. Date filters, as you can guess, deal with time and not dates to the movies, which you can't do anyway, so good luck with that. The first three dynamically update. In other words, as time goes on, they'll change. If I choose to do something that's only today, that report's gonna be different tomorrow than it is, well, today. The last two are static. So if I wanted to look at everything that was created in the last 2 weeks, I would use one of the first three filters. If I wanted to look at everything from 2018, I would use one of the last two filters. That from filter can get very, very, very specific. And when you use it, you would want to use the keys that are listed there, but generally I would choose to use between instead. It's a lot more user-friendly. Is it possible to include the work order dollar amount in the work order reports? Paula, I am not sure without actually looking at the program. There is a million things that can be added here, but we can definitely get you in with support, and they can look this up for you and get back to you when we actually have access to the program instead of a spreadsheet. So the last kind of filter is a list filter. Lists are used for things that, well, they have lists inside JobNimbus. This will be things like statuses or stages or your custom fields that mark with a list. For instance, if I had a list of insurance companies, then I might use a list filter here. An important control to use is exclude empty records. That is going to give you the capacity to exclude the records that have no information. That's especially useful with your custom fields. If I'm only occasionally filling something out and I mark it here, then I would get all of the empty information as well. So if you don't want those, make sure to mark that box. Our last control is adding a calculation. There's 5 different calculations you can add. The most valuable one is sum, which gives a total value of the column. So for instance, if I wanted a total value of all my estimates, I would use sum. Some people get that confused with count, which would just give me the total number of estimates. So if I had 20 estimates, count would be 20 and not the total of those estimates, which, yeah, it's probably like $1 million or something because you guys are so good. So make sure you're using sum and count effectively. There's 2 ways that you can organize your reports now that you've got all your data inside them. The first is to group your report. To do that, you grab the column header for what you want to group by and drag it into that little space below the name. That is going to separate the report down by that type. Then you can, as displayed here, go through and collapse the ones you don't want to look at. It really lets you get a good overview of what area of responsibility or what geographical area your things are in. The second one's a lot simpler, and that is sorting a report. Sorting a report works like you'd see in a lot of programs. You just click on the column header. The first click will sort it ascending, the second descending. You can sort by multiple fields on a report. The first one will take precedence. So if I sorted by type first, and then by display name, then I get all my customers, and then all my display names in alphabetical order, and then all my subcontractors with their names in alphabetical order, so on and so forth. So now that you've got your report sorted and you've got all your data correct, you're probably wondering, what's the point? It's easy to see this in theory, but let's give you a couple ways to do it in practice. And the best practice here is to find ways to help reports keep the information that you're losing. So we've got a poll that we're launching here about what sort of data that you might have problems keeping track of. We're going to go over a few of these and think about how reports can help you. If we don't answer it here, reach out to support and they can help you answer these questions on how you can use reports to save your data. Yeah. Now, while we're getting the results from that poll, let's go over Deletion Report. This will help you save data in a different way, and that's save data that's deleted. We use this in support all the time, and a lot of people don't know that you can get it. So to make this report, you would make an activity report, put in a note filter for deleted, as shown on the right-hand side, and make sure that is not capitalized, and apply it. Then you can add a column for date created, and that'll tell you when the report or when the object was deleted, not when the object was created. This will let you go in and open and save anything that was deleted, like an invoice or heaven help you a contact, so that those won't be lost. This is something that's useful to go in and save, and I would make it available to just you because this data can be a little bit touchy. Something that might be more on the practical side of things and less on the save my life side of things is an AR report, which will help you keep track of money. I imagine most of you care about money a little bit, and this will help you know what money is owed to you. Very important thing to know. So I would use an invoice report for this. And I would filter the status first. So like your different customers, your invoices also have statuses that are set by us. Those can be things like draft, void, canceled, closed. We'll filter this to sent and open, the two that you would use when you've sent an invoice to a customer. We're going to use that greater than filter that we talked about earlier to show you everything that owes you more than $0. Hopefully that's a bigger number than 0 by a lot. Then finally, we'll add some calculations at the bottom to give you an idea of how much money you've collected from these people and how much you're still owed. Another piece of data that's pretty easy to lose is your leads. I'm sure it's never happened to any of you, but I know that sometimes I lose track of people and I can really get behind in my work. So making a report that will show you leads that haven't been touched in a while can be very, very helpful. I would use a contact report here, though if you're using exclusively jobs, you could also use a job report. I'd add a filter for either status or stage and set it to my lead statuses or to the lead stage. And finally, I'd add a filter for the date status change, which means that it's been in that status for so much time. In this example, I chose older than 14 days. You could choose older than 3 days or older than a month, however much time you think is reasonable for your guys to get to this. And then lastly, I grouped this by sales rep so I could see what each person was responsible for and what they could do what you could do to help them out. So that's a few examples of different reports that you can create. There are a ton more. Once you've created these, you're probably going to want to look at them regularly. You can add these to your dashboard. You can use that customize button on the right-hand side, and it'll bring up a list of all of the custom reports in your system. You can mark them and then click and drag to change the order. That way you're going to make your dashboard something that is unique to you and important to the data that you need, and not just what we think you might need when you open your account for the first time. As a final few notes, here are things that I've found to be very important to think about. The first is that your reports are only as good as your data. If you're creating a bunch of custom fields and your guys aren't using them, then you're not going to be able to use that data in your system. If you're not using invoices or estimates in JobNimbus, then invoice and estimate reports and even the built-in reports aren't going to do you any good. So make good data and you'll make good reports. Another little tip is that filters are additive. Each one you add is another fence that your data has to get through to get into the report. So make sure you're not using contradictory filter or too many filters. Use just enough. And finally, just as a usage note, identify weaknesses in your business, and you can probably make a report to shore up that weakness. And if you don't know how to do it, well, contact us at support, and we're happy to help you out. So with all that said, what questions do you have? Go ahead and put them in chat or go ahead and talk, and we will answer questions now. I would have put on the Jeopardy theme, but it is copyrighted. So we will just sit here in silence for a few more seconds. All right, I'm going to assume that means we did an amazing job and there are no possible questions. Oh.
It actually looks like someone is. Okay, Aubrey, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? I just have to double check on this.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so I'm really new to JobNimbus and reports and all that stuff. I mean, we're a pretty new company. So I'm sorry, man. Just none of this seemed super applicable to where I'm at right now. No, it's okay. I'm not. It's just difficult when you've got someone that's brand new to it, when it's something you're very familiar with, to know exactly where to start. And I don't really know what I don't know. Now, it's a very good software and very easy to use. I guess for someone just starting out and different things like that. So I'm in sales. My goal with JobNimbus is to make sure that I'm keeping track of the client and keeping track of every interaction, which you make it very easy to do. That's very understandable for me. The other goal that maybe I could use some direction on is to make sure that no one falls through the cracks because of active reminders that JobNimbus would give me. And so one thing I do like about it is that if I put something in my calendar, I set it up so it reminds me of those things as well. But something that's independent of the calendar that can remind me with active notifications would be very helpful.
Yeah, we actually do have a feature that can help give you active notifications. We have a set of abilities called automations that allow you to make if-then statements that will perform actions in the system. So for example, we looked at that cooling lead report earlier, right? That will show you all the information on things that have been stuck for more than a certain amount of time. Well, we can also turn that into an automation that will say, hey, if something's been sitting for X amount of time, then give a email or create a task to say, hey, deal with this. And we're going to give you a link at the end here for our knowledge base where you can go just type in automation and it's going to work through that. If you'd like specific help, we're also going to give you an email address to contact, and our guys can very easily walk you through setting up some automations so that you don't lose any leads. So short version is, sorry that this was not exactly what you needed right now. But contact us about automations and we can help you set up reminders for yourself that will 100% get you the information you need.
Awesome. Yeah, I very much appreciate it. Yeah, any information you can send to me. I think y'all already have my contact info based on the emails I've been receiving. So
we probably do, yeah. So we'll do that. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the question.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the time you've taken out for this. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for asking a question. If anyone else has any, go ahead and feel free to ask them now. Or you are super welcome to peruse support.jobnimbus.com. This is our knowledge base that we have available to our customer base and should be able to answer most questions that you have. But if there are any that are not answerable there, as we've mentioned several times, go ahead and reach out to support here. Support@jobnimbus.com is the email that you can send your question to. We have pretty good response time and we're super happy to help. We really want to see you as users of JobNimbus succeed with the program.
Yeah. And for those of you who are not current users of JobNimbus, you can get a trial of JobNimbus by going to this web address or just jobnimbus.com and asking for a free trial. You'll have 14 days to use the program and get acquainted with it. You can also reach out to our sales team at sales@jobnimbus.com. They'll give you a free demo and work with you to figure out how JobNimbus can best help your system and your business. So thank you all for coming. This has been a lot of fun. Hopefully we gave you something that will help you organize your business and move forward. I know this is a hard time for business owners. We're all feeling a little bit of a pinch, and it's great to spend some time together and work on how we can improve. With that, everybody have a great day. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you taking time to answer my question too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great day, everyone.